So I want to talk about the way God has used service in my life and the impact of getting out of my comfort zone, and how that's impacted my spiritual growth and shown that God is a fulfiller of dreams. A big part of my testimony is that God kept me from the usual derailing behaviors of adolescence, and I graduated from high school with avoiding partying and all the other typical things that kids get into. But it wasn't until I left home and joined YWAM when I was 19 that I truly began really understanding spiritual things, and that I started to have a real relationship with God and was able to experience His miraculous provision for myself. YWAM stands for Youth with a Mission, and it was originally started by people who wanted to help young people just get out into the mission field instead of having to go to seminary and Bible school and all that first. I feel like when God first called me to go to YWAM, I stood up and I volunteered before I really thought it through. And when I started thinking it through, I became fearful that this is not what I wanted to do with my life. I thought I would go to college and just live a life. But God just, it's almost like He just ripped this thing up in me, and changed my motivation for what my life would be, and changed my willingness to do it differently than I had thought. One time we were doing healthcare in this village in India, and this woman came up to me, and she was asking me some very medical questions for her husband, who was very sick with something. And so we were talking, and I very quickly realized they had a spiritual problem going on. I mean, yes, he had a medical thing, but their issues were way deeper than his medical problems. So it was really neat. I was able to pull her aside, and he was there, and she was accusing him of being an alcoholic, drunkard, wrecking their lives, and all these things. But it was weird. I was just able to see through all that and just say, you guys need the Lord. And they were so open. And their hearts were just, it was so I almost didn't believe it. I'm like, are they faking me? Or, you know what I mean? Because it's like, they were just soaking it up. And so, we prayed, and they were just so happy, and we all took pictures of each other, and we left. And so I said, I'm going to do everything I can to get a Bible to you in your language. And I never heard if they got that Bible. I just have to trust that they did, but it was just such a divine appointment, and just our interaction was so, I don't know, just so smooth. I'll never know until heaven how that went for them, but it was just really neat to be there that day, I do feel very ordinary. When I look around and I see pastors or evangelists and all that, I'm like, I just am not that kind of person, and, I'm just so usual and normal, average. And, but I think God has blessed the fact that I was willing to go other places, and so He's used that. And yeah, it feels like, it makes me grateful that God is able to use ordinary people and do extraordinary things. And I feel like my life has been so rich from the experiences I've had by putting myself into those uncomfortable places. And I always tell people, don't be afraid to step out and do the unusual things that God's calling you to do, because He's in it, and He will bless you. He will bless what you're doing. And I almost feel like when I'm back in America, living a normal life, not so many things happen on a daily basis. These several examples of His calling and me stepping out to obey led to huge miracles. And I remember a sermon recently, I don't know if it was Dan or if I read it in a book or something, but it says something about faith is trusting God to do what we cannot do. And I feel like when I've put my life in His hands in such a way that that's the case, then He does that for me. And when we got back from that year away, I got a job that was, again, a miracle, and it just continues to go on. That He provided for that job, and now I think He's providing a new thing for me, and that He's letting me go part-time. And it's kind of a scary step because I've become used to the income, But I think he's leading me to work part-time and maybe see what he has for me. And, so it's another opportunity to step out and see if he wants me to serve him in some way. And I'm sure I'll continue to see his provision in that. It'll be exciting.